So questions 11 through 20 that we're going to go over today for you at this point. Okay, so we have some information here. So before I even get started on all that stuff, let's read the question first. It says, which of the following options correctly explains how to find the value of x in the figure below? Okay, so we're talking about the value of x, so we're dealing with x here and x here, and I'm already observing, and I've coached you guys up and showed you enough that I can see something here that I know of, that if I were to sit there and take this thing right here, and it looks like a half circle to me, and this looks like a straight line, we know this whole thing equals 180 degrees, okay? That's the key thing. So what we want to do is we want to find stuff in here that equals 180 degrees. That means if I were to add all these up, which would be 2x plus 4x plus 30 degrees, all of them would equal 180 degrees. So what we need to do is we need to go through each one of these scenarios and see what we got here. And there's some key words in here that I'm going to share with you that you need to look for, okay? So in question number 1, I'm going to sit there and say I see vertical angles in here. Again, I see vertical angles in question number 2. I see one here, straight angle, in question or part C, and then I also see a straight angle in here. Now, we always talked about a straight angle, which again, we're talking about this thing right here, and a straight angle is two rays that go in opposite directions that equal 180 degrees, okay? Now, so we have nothing to do with vertical angles, so I'm going to sit there and say we know that A and B are not going to be our answers. So again, going down here and looking at questions C and D, or answers C and D, this one says 180 degrees and this one says 90 degrees. And what did we define up here as a straight angle being? 180 degrees. So our answer for this one would be what? Answer is C. Okay, so there's keywords and things that you need to look for in each one of these questions to help yourself out. All right, question number 12. Okay, going to a proof again. Again, remember what I said in the last proof, that we know that there are key words in our given information that will help us to understand and answer our questions here. I'm going to say, okay, I think supplementary would be one. I'm going to sit there and know that that equals 180 degrees. And the other key thing is that it says that angle 1 is equal to 135 degrees. So if I know that this is 135 degrees, I'm going to write in here 135 degrees. I'm also going to sit there and say, okay, angle 1 and angle 2 are considered to be 180 degrees, which they are, say they are supplementary, because that's what we said, okay? So with that information we have here, look what our first one, you guys have got a great easy one on this one. It says it's a given information. So we have angle 1, angle 2 are supplementary, which is here. The other given information is what? Measurement of angle 1 equals 135 degrees. Okay? So we know that. So out of all these, we want to sit there and say angle 1 equals 135 degrees. So let's go through each one of these things for part 1. It says angle 2 is 135. That's not the answer. So we know A is definitely not the answer right off the bat. Angle 1 is 135 degrees, angle 1, angle 1. So these ones all check. So we don't know. It could either be B, C, or D. Okay? Now, we go down here and we look at some information here where we go to step number 2, and we know that when we take two angles, we add them up, we're going to get what? 180 degrees. What is the key word in here again? Supplementary. So let's find here for part 1, for this where we'd sit there and think it would be supplementary. Well, this one has supplementary in it, so that one's good. This one has supplementary angles in it. This one's good. And this one is a definition of supplementary angles, and look at this one, complementary. So we know that D now is not an answer. So we've eliminated down to B and C. So let's look at the last part. So we know that angle 2 equals 45 degrees, which is what we want to prove. How did we get to that point? How did we go from 180 degrees to 45? Did we add, subtract, multiply, divide, substitute, whatever it may be? Okay, so let's go through our B and C. Here we have subtraction and we have substitution. how did we go from 180 to 45 when we have 135 here? So how do we, so we did, we went subtraction. So the answer in this case would be C. Okay? All right, moving on. Let's go ahead and go to question number 13. And I would sit there and recommend on this one putting a lot of information in here. Here's a key thing here that we know. Is this thing right here. That means that this is 90 degrees. Okay? So it says in the diagram below, line P is parallel to line J, and T is perpendicular, which is this one right here, perpendicular to AB. What is the measure of BAC? So BAC is this angle right here. Okay. A couple key points, if you guys can figure it out. Key thing is this thing is 90 degrees. So that means this also here is 53 degrees. Again, knowing that these lines are parallel, that means we've got to use alternate interior, alternate exterior, corresponding angles, and what's the last one? Corresponding, and oh, I can't remember off the top of my head at this point. Okay, but anyways, so we know this is 53 degrees. So that means I can also say that this angle is 53 degrees. Okay, that is because of alternate interior angles. Now, I can also say, based on what I know, that this is also 53 degrees because of angles that are opposite of each other are what? Vertical. So that being said, going back again and looking at this, I'm going to draw a line through all this right here. What do you guys notice about this? All three of these angles together, they equal what? 180 degrees. So that means that they're supplementary. So if I were to take all three of these angles, which is 90, the angle we're looking for, and 53, and we add them up, we're going to get 180 degrees. So let's write that here. So we're going to go 53 degrees plus x, we'll call that one x, and then we're going to go plus 90 degrees equals 180 degrees. Okay? So 53 and 90 we add up together. That's going to give me, let's see, clear that out of there. 53 plus 90 gives me 143 degrees equals 180. Whoops, we've got to put the x in there. We're going to subtract 143 from both sides. Gives me x equals, what is 143 from 180? Answer is 37 degrees. So our answer in this case is going to be A. Okay? All right. Question number 14. Here we go. Based on the figure below, what statements are true if, and here's the key words, what does these funky things mean? They mean that they are parallel. Okay, so we've got to go through each scenario and find out which one, which statements are true if this is the case. Okay? Alrighty. Let me give you a hint right now. There's three of them that are going to be good. Okay, so let's look at the first one. Angle 1 and angle 5. So let's go angle 1 and angle 5. Okay? Are those equal to each other? Well, we've got to remember we're dealing with alternate interior, alternate exterior, corresponding, and compound. I think it's compound. It's another one with a C word. I can't, off the top of my head, I can't even think of it for the life of me. Anyways, I'm going to tell you right now, this one is true. So that's one of your answers. Why is it true? Well, I could sit there and say that angle 1 and angle 9 are going to be equal to each other. Okay? Because they are, what does it say, composite? I can't remember the word I'm using here. But then, and then I use the same rule of going this direction too. I cannot believe that for the life of me that's the case. But because corresponding angles, it might be corresponding angles, huh? Anyways, if these are corresponding, that means they equal each other, and that means that these two are also going to equal each other if we turn it that way. So we know that one's true. Now let's go ahead and check out angles 2 and 3. Angles 2 and 3. Okay, again, they say this equals 180 degrees. Oh, see, the other one is consecutive interiors. Okay, that's what I'm thinking of. Now look at these two. This is the exact same thing what 1 and 9 are, and 5 and 9 are, where they're the corresponding angles. Remember, consecutive interior angles, which would have been this one right here, 2 and this angle would have been consecutive interior to equal 180 degrees. But based on what we have here, these are corresponding, so therefore they are not equal 180 degrees together, they equal each other. All right, let's look at the next one. Angles 4 and 8. Okay, 4 and 8. Let's see here, 4 and 8. Okay, I'm going to tell you right now that I know that those are true, and I'm going to show you why, so that is an answer. If I, again, we're dealing with a lot of corresponding angles here, so angle 4 and angle 6 are equal to each other here, okay? And then we can sit there and say, okay, angle 6 and angle 8 are equal to each other because of alternate exterior angles, okay? All right, let's move on to the next one. Let's go green color here. Angle 6. Okay, we're doing this one. And angle 9. Okay. All right. So we could sit there and say, again, we already know that angle 6 and angle 8 are congruent to each other. Okay. They're congruent to each other. And then we sit there and look at this as a straight line. Angle 8 and angle 9 add up to be what? 180 degrees. So therefore, this one is also true because if I were to take those two, they would add up. And then the last one we want to do here, let's go with the purple, angle 1, okay, and angle 9 right here. Again, we've already talked about angle 1 and 9 being corresponding. Therefore, they're equal to each other, so they cannot equal 180 degrees unless they're 90-degree angles. So J is not one of the answers. Okay. All right. Let's get through one more question here for this part, and then we'll go into part 2 for the second half of these problems. Okay. All right. Keyword again in a proof anytime. Right there. Parallel. Okay. So this we know is parallel to this line. Again, looks like we're using alternate interior, alternate exterior, corresponding, and consecutive interior angles. Okay. So we got our given here, which is unfortunate. That makes it a little bit interesting. So now we want to go angle 15. We want to see if two parallel lines are cut by transversal, then each pair of alternate interior angles are congruent. So we need to find alternate interior angles. So I know that 4 matches with 6 and 3 matches with 5. So we need to go down here. So I'm going to write that in here. So we're going to go 4 and 6 and 5 and 3 match. So down here in question here, which one has that in there? 4 and 6. I see a 4. I see a 6, but no matching here. And then we have 3 and 5. We have a 3. Oh, here we go. So the answer for part 15 is this. We're going to go ahead and finish up 16 here first before we go on. Okay, now it shows that angle 5 and 6 add up to be 180 degrees. Angles 5 and 6 add up to be 180 degrees. Okay, so we know that we have that. So let's go down here and look at what our possibilities are for this. We know that these angles, first of all, are right next to each other. All that stuff too, so it gives us that they're supplementary and they are a straight angle and they're a straight line. So let's look for any of those ones here. Okay, so any word, keyword, we'd said supplementary. So here's supplementary, supplementary, and that's it. So that means, look at this one. This one says complementary, which equals 108. So we know that one's not it. Okay, and we know we didn't talk about vertical angles, so we know that one's not it. So which one is going to be our right answer on this one? Okay. So here's a keyword in here that we got to look at. So we know that this is true, which is I think might be our answer, but this one also here, but here's the keyword in here in this one that we don't. Did we use a third angle? And the answer is no. So that means our answer is C. All right, we'll see you guys in a few. Talk to you in a minute. Going back to 17 through